It's a Ponzi.
So we didn't have the money for Ukraine, right? We didn't have the money for Ukraine. $350 billion.
I never do this.
Hiring's the opposite of DEI.
No, that's not true.
The results, just for anyone listening still, the results of this are saying that
women in that facility, migrant women, say that a doctor was performing unauthorized hysterectomies on immigrant women detained at that facility.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you saw my post a few days ago, then you know that my basement flooded, which is my studio where I do all my recording, and it's not quite to where it needs to be yet, but I still wanted to bring you 3 videos that I think you'll find very entertaining. Starting with our first video, CNN host Michael Smirnoff instantly regretting starting a debate with one of the DOGE guys.
Who better to answer some of these questions than James Fishback, the CEO of Azoria, the originator of the DOGE dividend. James, thank you for being here. How did this all come to pass?
Well, good morning, Michael. To tell you the truth, it came to me in a dream. I woke up, I called our head of research at Azoria, we met at Capitol Grill, we fleshed this thing out in 2 hours, and I'm honored that the president has endorsed it. This is a real plan to send the savings that DOGE generates over the next couple of years right back into the pockets of hardworking Americans all across this country. They deserve it. It was their money in the first place, and they need a break.
Okay, I'm all for ridding the government of waste, fraud, and abuse. But at some level, isn't it all illusory? In other words, if there's a quote-unquote savings made by Elon Musk and DOGE, we're still $36 trillion in debt. So there's no pie to cut up. There's no slice of the pizza that I can hand back to you unless we continue to borrow those funds.
Our plan's really simple. Over the next couple of years, DOGE will save a set amount of money. We're going to take 20% of that and put it right back in the hands of taxpayers. The other 80, as President Trump has pointed out, will go back to paying down the debt and narrowing the deficit. Here's the truth, Michael. For every $5 that DOGE saves, as we believe calculated by the Congressional Budget Office, when this whole project is said and done next summer, for every $5, $1 goes back to the pockets of American taxpayers. Here's why. They sent their money to D.C. to be spent in America, not to be abused, not to be disrespected, and not to be defrauded. That $20 million to Iraqi Sesame Street, that money sent for a transgender opera in Colombia, all at the same time, Michael, that we have roads and bridges crumbling. We're losing 900 Americans every day to deaths of despair, alcoholism, and suicide. 8 out of 10 black American fourth graders are not even reading at grade level. This is pathetic. The Americans sent their money to be spent in America. They were defrauded. They were lied to. They now deserve restitution. And the second point that President Trump, just one sec, Michael, the second point that President Trump brought up on Air Force One is that these DOGE dividends will incentivize Americans to report waste, fraud, and abuse in their own community. Why? Why? Because the more that DOGE saves, the bigger their DOGE dividend check will be. Remember, in economics, show me the incentive and I'll show you the outcome. We're giving every American...
I'm going to get to the economics. We should be paying the debt. Your response?
My response is this. We should be paying the debt, which is why the DOGE dividend incentivizes every American to call out waste, fraud, and abuse, to lower the budget, to narrow the deficit, and to bring down the debt. Where was this emergency over the debt when we sent $350 billion to Ukraine to be wasted? Where was this emergency, Michael, on CNN when you guys were advocating $7,000 to migrants in Chicago? $7,000 a month per migrant, and now we want to spend $5,000 one time from President Trump to hardworking Americans. The migrants didn't deserve $7,000 a month. Hardworking Americans deserve a $5,000 check with President Trump's name on it. So enough with the double standard. Ukraine did not deserve $350 billion.
Okay, listen to me. Listen to me. This is Madoff-like. This is a Ponzi scheme.
No, Ukraine was a Ponzi scheme. The migrant funding was a Ponzi scheme. Hardworking Americans deserve a break.
James,
it was their money, Michael. It was their money.
James, give me a chance to speak. Theoretically, it's my program. We don't have the money, is what I'm trying to tell you. It's a Ponzi.
So we didn't have the money for Ukraine, right? We didn't have the money for Ukraine. $350 billion.
I never do this. I don't want to be that guy. Do I have to silence your microphone so that I can respond to what you've said? Because there's so much fallacy in what you've just offered.
Please go ahead and refute it.
I have a very simple premise here. We're $36 trillion in debt. It's a fraud. As much as I want to see us cut waste, fraud, and abuse, it is an absolute fraud to say to the American people, because of what Musk is doing, we have $5,000 to give each of you. The only way we have $5,000 is if we're borrowing it.
He is delivering on his promise
Okay.
of major government reform, Michael. The DOGE dividend plan
Okay.
is bold,
Thank
and
you.
Americans support it.
All right, I'm calling time on all of that.
Shit, drive! Oh, anywhere, just go!
Yeah, good question. CNN definitely has never shown any concern when it comes to Democrat spending. It really just goes to show the entity known as the Free Press is really just a tool of the powers that be. They have their own concerns and agenda, and they are not the same as yours. Like George Carlin used to always say, it's a big club and you're not in it. That being said, I don't really agree with sending out a $5,000 check to everyone because, as the CNN host actually correctly pointed out, we just can't afford it. I'd much rather see the Trump administration reminding everybody on a regular basis how much money that we've paid off of our debt thanks to DOGE. All right, moving on to our next video, which I think you'll find highly entertaining because it involves The View turning on each other over a DEI debate.
So companies would hide under this idea of we're so progressive with not a lot of benefits or not always benefits to the people they claim to be helping. So some of the ways you change it, Sonny, you've been asking all day, like what are the things?
What's the solution?
So she has solutions. She's saying focus on measurable results like pay equity, physical and psychological safety, holding network events, blind hiring. There are a lot of things that you can couch
Blind
in.
hiring, that makes sense.
Right. But
Isn't
the point
that
is
kind of merit-based? Isn't that the whole argument that DEI is against?
well,
is
she
merit-based?
dug in because she
No,
studied,
but
she's a consultant on DEI for
is
companies
not
for 10 plus years. And what she's saying is, regardless
blind
of the
hiring is the opposite of DEI.
No, that's not true.
The results, just for
But you
anyone
cannot
listening still,
mention-
the results of this are saying that there were people there that needed help with the diversity, the equity, the inclusion, bringing people on. The pay disparity still exists. They aren't getting the jobs. So not every critic of DEI, which I am one of them, says that it can't do better.
DEI programs make sure that the most qualified candidates, traditionally excluded from opportunity, are given the chance to compete. So this notion somehow that blind hiring could work, I think that's
wouldn't
something.
it take the
but it's not
race
about
or identity out of
but
it,
it's
and it would
not
be purely based on what you put forward?
But it's not about merit, because the people that are in these DEI programs are already the best of the best.
But she's
then
saying that
I'm saying-
companies end up doing tokenism rather than helping by the way they approach
the number of
DEI.
times I've
Not
had people in
tokenism.
corporate America be like, lean into the fact that you're an Arab American. I don't ever want somebody to be able to look at me and say, you were a DEI hire.
Well, better late than never.
It's Sunny Hostin just needs to come out and admit that she's a black supremacist because she clearly actually believes that black people are superior and won't be able to get jobs without DEI because of a white conspiracy to hold them down. Which is kind of wild, right? Because if she said the exact same thing about Jewish people, then she would be called anti-Semitic and kicked off the air. But as long as she's saying these things about white people, it's apparently okay. They're also inadvertently admitting that DEI makes white people undesirables, which is just racial discrimination and is illegal. All right, this last one is crazy, and I bet you haven't heard anything about it yet.
Yesterday, we learned about a whistleblower, a nurse, working at a Georgia Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, ICE facility, leveling, honestly, ghastly allegations, chief among them, that women in that facility, migrant women, say that a doctor was performing unauthorized hysterectomies on immigrant women detained at that facility.
We are following breaking news today. It's about an alarming new whistleblower complaint that alleges, quote, high numbers of female detainees, detained immigrants at an ICE detention center in Georgia received questionable hysterectomies while in ICE custody.
MSNBC just lost a lawsuit because a bunch of their hack reporters wrongly claimed that a doctor working for the Trump administration was purposely giving mass hysterectomies to illegals. This is wild because everything they said is completely false, and they ruined this doctor's life so they could create this hysteria about Donald Trump being literally Hitler. It's not that surprising we're not hearing much about this in the media, because they are currently still trying to create that hysteria. One thing's for sure, the media was way more interested when Fox News was the one being sued. All right, folks, let me know what you all think in the comments, and if you're still here, might as well hit that like button and subscribe. I do post on a regular basis. I know there hasn't been much for the last couple days, but again, that's because my basement was flooded and I'm currently still trying to get it in order. But now you gotta to make sure to keep checking back for more because I should be on my regular schedule. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you all on the next one.